Welcome to episode 10, where I'm heading into Mexico. And no, it's not scary and dangerous. It's quite the opposite. It's quite a bit of fun. As you can see, I pretty much rode all the way across Mexico from Baja through down to the East Coast, and I spent a little over 3 weeks in Mexico. And what I found was common across the entire country. It's just a vibrant culture. Everything is colorful. Everybody is festive. Everybody's smiling. It's just a beautiful place, and I'm sad that I waited this long in my life to go visit. One thing I noticed about Mexico and its vibrant spirit was that everywhere you went there's music. Everywhere somebody's playing music, either on a street corner or putting on a show in the middle of the square. But everywhere you go, you're listening to vibrant, happy music. It's pretty damn cool. So the roads themselves get a separate category for this video because I'd read some things about topes, but topes are evil and they're everywhere and they're rarely marked. You rarely get a warning, and if you're not careful you can bite your tongue off. You have to contend with all manner of things in the road, like animals and military checkpoints and police checkpoints. I probably went through a dozen of these, maybe 15 of these across Mexico. I never had a problem. They were always very courteous and professional, and only in rare cases did they actually stop me and ask me where I was from and where I was going. And then when I told them I was on a motorcycle trip, they'd get very interested. So don't worry about the military police checkpoints. I'd say 99% of the roads in Mexico are as good or better than those in the U.S. Particularly the quota roads, or the toll roads, excuse me, which I did take when I was sort of in a hurry. And for about the price you're paying in gas, you really can zip along on a very, very good road. All right, so construction in Mexico is unlike I'd ever seen before, where the main road stays, it's all torn up, and then the main road sort of stays where it is, and they route another road, a dirt road, around it. And I can't tell you how many hundreds of miles I racked up on these offshoot roads, and they were never a problem. They were just bumpy and very dusty and slow, particularly if there was a lot of traffic. But like I said, most of the roads in Mexico are fantastic, and they're twisty, and they go through the mountains and over the plains, and they're just amazing roads. One thing you should know about the gas stations in Mexico, they're owned by the government. The chain is called Pemex. The prices are set. There's no competition. It's full service, and I'd heard warnings about making sure it was zeroed out, and I never had a problem. The people working there were always very friendly. In many cases told me to look and make sure it was zeroed out. No problems. As you can see, these twisty roads are everywhere. Some things I learned about the roads as I went along is that you will see on the if it's a 2-lane road, there'll be extra lanes on the right-hand side, but they're only half as wide. They're sort of like shoulders in the U.S. Well, these are functional. They're used to either let somebody pass you move over, or you move over if somebody's coming in the opposite direction. But for the most part, like I said, the roads were great in Mexico, and the scenery is fantastic. Once I got south and east into Mexico, I started seeing these little bad boys, and they buzzed around everywhere, tuk-tuks or something like that, but you saw them everywhere. Scenery in Mexico is, in my opinion, second to none. It's so varied from Baja all the way over to the eastern side of the country. There's so many things to see. The towns that you go through are pretty remarkable. I mean, they started to all look the same to me, the smaller towns, but the landscapes that you go through change constantly as you go into and out of the mountains, from the desert up into the high hills. The towns were the center of the universe for everything in daily life in Mexico. From the big cities even to the little cities. They shared a lot in common. A large plaza, church, a large extravagant church, and people that were smiling and happy and just hanging out and with their families, and it was a common theme that I saw everywhere I went in Mexico. As I mentioned, every town has a big square. They also have a huge church, and it's usually outsized, like it's too big for its surroundings. But every one of them were amazing, and I made a purpose of visiting each one in each town that I went into, including the one that Eiffel, the same guy who built the Eiffel Tower, built. He built it out of steel in the 1880s. It's pretty cool. But all the churches are active and they're working, and people are in them all day, and they're remarkable, and they're everywhere. Just a few random cool things that I've experienced as I was traveling through Mexico, taking the ferry from La Paz over to Mazatlan. It's about a 14-hour ride, and I got a cabin, which was pretty cool. It was a nice sort of evening away from the bike. One thing I noticed about parking, everywhere I went, I never had a problem getting secure parking. Almost every hotel, not every hotel, but you can find them, they're not hard to find, has places to park your bike, so you don't have to worry about that. Another really cool thing I got to do is when I was in La Paz, in Baja South, I saw a sign for whale watching. Whale watching. I don't want to whale watch as a scuba diver, but I did manage to jump in the water and snorkel with some whale sharks. That was pretty damn cool. The food in Mexico. Wow. Everywhere you go, the food is great. I met up with Frank on the ferry coming over from La Paz. He's doing the same trip. He's from France, headed to Ushuaia. He's a pretty cool guy. The water, obviously, heed the warnings. Even the hotels tell you not to drink the water. I did meet up with Ed and Rachel from C90 Adventures, and in the middle of Mexico. Who the hell knew that would happen? La Bufadora is a natural geyser just south of Ensenada in Baja. I mean, it's fun standing there watching these waves just shoot up 100 feet. I did think that the west coast of Baja was perhaps one of the nicer, cooler areas. The beauty of it just seemed so relaxed, and it was nice. I did see some ruins in Pátzcuaro, as well as in Palenque, and Hiebre el Agua, which is it looks like a waterfall, but it's actually from mineral deposits. When I was in Palenque, I have to mention now, I'm actually in Guatemala as I speak. I'm in Antigua. I think in Palenque, I was bit by a mosquito and had what I thought was dengue, but actually it turns out it was Zika. So I have the Zika virus now, and it's going to take a few days to get over that, but all is good otherwise. But I really appreciate you following along. I really did love Mexico. There's no way I could do it justice in this video or in my blog post, but it is a wonderful country full of beautiful people, a fantastic culture, great food, great roads, great scenery, and I never had a problem with safety or security. I never felt unsafe, not once. 3 weeks and 1 day in Mexico. So it's definitely worth checking out. If you can get to Mexico, I recommend going today. That's all. Later. Thanks for following along, and I appreciate the feedback.